Hello, 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 hello. Hi, hello everyone. So excited that you're here. My name's Stephanie. I'm the founder of Mrs. D's Corner, the Intentional IEP, and you are in our free Facebook group. Today I'm going to share with you two brand new IEP related resources that I myself and a couple of other teachers here in this Facebook group have been helping me with over the last couple of weeks here for the month of June. One is one that I see comments for all the time, and I will low-key tell you a backstory about this, the IEP Lesson Planner. The other one is called the IEP Blueprint. The first thing I want to show you, though, is the IEP Lesson Planner because, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about it. So I have one prepped, actually, I'm sorry, I have one printed. So there is a digital version that you can download and you can edit all of the pages and do all the things that you need to print them, put them in your own binder, which is what I'm going to do. I have Happy Planner discs that I plan on reusing from last school year that I bought. And so I'm going to make my own little Happy Planner, IEP Lesson Planner out of the downloads from this. But you can also grab it on Amazon as well. It came yesterday. I'm so stinking excited. So backstory, for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, I've talked to two, I would say, well-known lesson planner companies in the atmosphere that we work in within education. And it just never came to fruition to have an IEP lesson planner or a special education lesson planner. It just, timing wasn't right for all of the things. And so this year I was like, well, I'm just going to put it on Amazon. Like, that's this, you guys are asking for it. I have the pages already done. So I'm really excited to bring this to you and I cannot wait to share it with you. So let's take a look inside. This was a labor of love, but I absolutely am so proud of it. So if you are unsure of like my journey through education, so I have taught everything from K through 12. I have done co-taught, I've self-contained, I've done inclusion, push in and pull out, I've done a resource, I've worked in multiple different states and charter and public schools. So all of my experience to say the pages within this and how I laid this out for you come from my experience in all of those different settings. I also asked a couple times here in the Facebook group, like, what's missing from the other lesson planners that are on the market right now that we don't have? And so in a couple of weeks, I think it's July 11th, I'm actually doing the annual back to school lesson planner review for special educators here for free in this Facebook group. I think I'm waiting on 2 more to arrive. I purchased them all with my own money, share them with you, and then I share how I would use them and how I have used them, especially the Erin Condren lesson planner, the Happy Planner one. Everyone loves that one because you can take the discs out and put new pages in. So that is coming. I will also go over this one since it's ready with you, but I'm so stinking excited, so let me show you inside. Currently, this is the only cover that I have. I wanted it to be just not plain, but enough that it was cutesy. I don't want to say the word cutesy, and not too bland for any specific teacher, but also so that any specific teacher could use it. It does have the dates for this school year, so 2023, 2024. You have your first page here where you get to put your name in it. There are also some additional resources for IEPs and things here. So if you wanted the digital copy, this is on Amazon. It's $15.50. It's the same price as if you wanted to grab the digital download version, which are both linked in the comments. I don't know if it's above or below this video, but you have them both there. But there's some additional links there for you. You have your table of contents of what's included, and the pages are numbered here at the bottom. So if you wanted to go to a specific page or to see something specific, everything is here in the table of contents for you laid out. The first pages you're going to go into are the classroom information pages. I left them this way and not colorful because I'm huge on color coding, but also I wanted you to be able to, if you wanted to make copies of pages within this, I didn't want it to be too color heavy to where it would look funny when you make copies of it. So it is just black and white. You can make copies of anything, reuse them over year if you wanted to. But you have all of your teacher info, your daily schedule, your classroom paras, where to find different things, different duties, when and where you're supposed to be. You have your classroom birthdays, class allergy notes, and then parent volunteer information. I tried to keep the classroom information as broad as I could to include as many different classroom settings as possible. Then you have classroom procedures. So arrival, specials, lunch, recess, dismissal, fire drill, lockdown, severe weather, other. Again, in the digital version, you can change any of these out if you don't like them or don't have them. Student login information. Then you have your paraprofessional schedules. There's only one in here because typically the majority of classrooms either have one para or none. I know self-contained classrooms sometimes have a lot more than that, but you can easily make a copy of this page and reuse it over and over. Your student services schedule, which is one thing. Both of these pages I often find left out of lesson planners, so I wanted to make sure that they are front and center of this lesson planner for you. So student services schedules, which I have something to show you when we get to the monthly pages. School personnel contact info, and then your IEP specialist contact info. So this is for people at your school. This may be for people within the district, or maybe you have contacts that are out of the district that you want to keep their information, and it's all on one page on the double spread here. You have your caseload snapshot, and I included enough pages for those of you that also teach resource. If you have this many students on your caseload, I feel you. I've had a caseload of 60 plus students once. It was a lot. It was a lot. So I made sure to include enough boxes for everyone. And if you need it, again, you can just make a copy. So then you have your student profile page and an IEP snapshot. There are multiple pages of this in here. I forget how many there are, but if you need more, again, you can just make a copy of both of these pages. What I like in how it's laid out is that if you rip one of these pages out, it's front back. So you have the student profile page on one side, and then you have the IEP snapshot on the other side. So that is one of my favorite things about this, is that it's front back. You could easily take it out of here and make a copy on your copier. So let me go through all of the copies of that page, because then we go into long range planning. So it gives you a space to long range plan per month, but then also per week if you wanted to do it that way. And this is just to give you like a general overview of how to plan for each month, and then specifically what you're going to work on each week. Then you have your curriculum maps. One of the things that a lot of you said is a lot of lesson planners don't have enough boxes. So I really tried to include enough boxes for those of you that teach high school or middle school and have multiple classes, or for those of you that are resource and you see multiple students, have multiple small groups. So you can really use these different curriculum maps for the 4 different quarters to help you plan. You then have calendars, quick glance calendars for this year and for next school year. I know that's important to think about, even though you're like, oh my gosh, we're not even at this school year yet, and you're thinking about next school year. But when it comes to reevaluations, when it comes to your testing schedules and maybe vacations that parents want to take, or summer school for next year, it's always nice to just have a calendar of next year here as well. So that is there for you. You also have your IEP tracking calendar. Now this page may look very familiar to some of you. You've seen it in a lot of the different resources that are available at the Intentional IEP and Mrs. D's Corner. It's just a general tracking calendar. So at the beginning of the year, you go in, you put your students' IEP due dates, and then you have it all on one page. You also have a quarterly tracking calendar for IEPs if you wanted to do it this way as well. Then we're going into the IEP Writing Timeline, which is new and updated. No one has seen it yet except for those that helped me with the IEP Blueprint. So we have updated the IEP Writing Timeline. That is here for you. We're going to go more into that with the IEP Blueprint, but you have a copy of that here. You also then have your caseload IEP Writing Timeline. So you would put your students' names, and then according to this, the 45 days, the 30 days, the 14 to 30, and all of that, you will go in and put when those specific due dates are due. And then if you didn't want to do one of these specific things, like maybe you don't send proposed drafts home, you're not allowed, or whatever the reason may be, you would just take that off of this list and not put it in. Moving into the actual lesson planner parts of the calendar. So I actually left, you guys voted and said that you love that planners are dated. Well, I actually left this blank. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to make sure that, again, if you wanted to copy and paste or make a copy of this for next year, that you certainly could do that. I wanted it to be as easy and reusable if you wanted to just keep this as a copy. I wanted to make sure that you had that available and that option for you. So you have your priorities with your must-dos, maybe-dos, due later. There is a quote at the bottom of each one. IEPs due this month, IEPs due next month. Don't forget upcoming events and a notes section. And then you have next month's calendar. So it starts with August, because depending upon where you live, states in the north states, so like Pennsylvania, my nieces go back at the end of August, And I know my best friend in Rhode Island, they go back after Labor Day. But then down here in the South, like when I was in Georgia and even here in Florida, teachers go back at the end of July and then the kids come the beginning of August. So there's no good place for me to really start a calendar and then leave everyone out. So what I did was I started with August. If you start in September, you would just skip over August or use this for next school year. But typically if you're starting in September, you're going to get out late June and you're not going to be in school in August. So you'll just skip these pages. One of my favorite pages is a related services checklist to make sure your kids are getting their minutes every single month. So behind the monthly calendar, you're going to find the related services checklist for every single month. So you have your student name, the service, the total minutes that they're supposed to receive, and then you can go into these different check boxes and either put the minutes that they received, a total amount of minutes, or you could do a checkbox, and then you can at the end of the month, received all minutes, check that box, or needs more minutes, check that box, and you have a quick glance of all of the minutes. You have a quick month at glance for all the months. This is just like your to-do list. You can do this at the beginning of the month if you wanted, or as the weeks go on, but you have priorities, your deadlines that are due on, remember, and then different boxes for each week. This is when you get into your actual lesson planning pages. And I forgot to link it, but last year I did a how to make your own stickers for your lesson planners using full sheet Avery labels. I'll come back and link it in the comments of this as well, because that is what I always did, and I'll go over that again in our lesson planner review in a couple of weeks. But you can easily make your own stickers to do this, or you can color code. Again, I left it blank, so if you wanted to make more copies, you certainly could, but you have enough within each month to cover that month. All right, so then it goes into the next month. And again, you have your full calendar with a different quote at the bottom, October's calendar, and then you have your September related services checklist. So if we go through all of the months, we get past, there's June, there's July. And I did put July in here because some people teach ESY. And so if you wanted to continue to use your lesson planner, if you teach extended school year, I wanted you to have the option to do that as well. After you come out of all of the lesson planner pages, you have your IEP meeting checklist, which some of you may have seen before. It is a free resource, but I wanted to throw it in here as well. And then you have the IEP meeting notes page. That is a template. Again, if you do use the digital download version, you can edit both of these and change them to meet your needs for your specific caseload or your students in your classroom. And again, just like the IEP snapshot and the student profile, it's front back if you wanted to take one out. So I just love that it's front back because I hate trying to print things front back on my printer. You go through all of those pages, and there's a bunch of them included for you. So you can see here all that whole section of pages. Then it goes into a collaboration log. Again, the collaboration log is available separately in our TPT store and at the Intentional IEP shop, but I put it in here for you so that you can keep track of collaboration with other IEP team members. There's a couple pages of this, but again, if you need more, just make sure that you leave a blank page so you can have a copy. I put our free bell curve poster in here from the Intentional IEP membership. So this is a bell curve poster and the bell curve conversion chart, which you may or may not need during an IEP meeting. An assessment timeline chart. So there's two different pages here. This is just to keep track of state or district assessments or benchmark timelines specific to your caseload. So you have the assessment name, the type, the grade level, start and end dates, and then any notes. So this is just like a general, okay, I know that state testing is coming up. I know that our quarterly benchmark or our semester benchmarks are coming, or there's a big test coming up just for my students. You can keep track of it here. And then if you want to keep track of student assessment scores, those are also available on the next page after that. Then we have third-party billing because in special education, some of our kids have Medicaid, right? And we have third-party billing that we need to take care of. So you have the student name, and then you just check off August, September, October, November. That's what those stand for at the top. You just check off to make sure that you did it, and then you will have just your general caseload of who got third-party billing and making sure everybody got that done. You have your accommodations tracker. So what you'll do is you'll put your student name, and then these boxes this way is where you would write your accommodations. So we notice that a lot of our students sometimes have the same accommodations, whether they are implemented the same way or not. Like a read aloud for one student might look very different for another student, but you would then put, read aloud or use of manipulatives, calculator. And so you could check off when they're using them or put a date in the box. there's a bunch of these pages for you to use here in this, because after this is when we have our IEP goal tracker. So then you could do one of these for one goal for a student, or you could do, this is one student here on a half page. You put the goal, you could then put the percentage or the fraction or a check mark that you took data, or whatever it may be. So you have these in here for you as well. There's a bunch of goal tracker pages, a bunch. And then the last couple of pages in here that we have are the parent contact log, which I did update. So there is a free one on TPT, and I just did update it for the parent contact binder, but it has 3 on each. So this one has 8, it's updated. For this version of this is only available within the lesson planner. So you have a couple of pages of that, and then you have your professional development log at the end. So if you take any trainings, you can keep track of all of your trainings, because I know, especially to renew your license in states, you have to keep track of all your trainings. When did you take them? Do you have a certificate? All of that. The professional development log is here for you for that purpose. And then we have the notes section at the end. So if you want to take additional notes of whatever it may be, you have that option here. So this is all inside the one from Amazon. So for $15.50, you can just buy this from Amazon. It'll be shipped right to you. Again, mine just came yesterday. I was so excited. It was supposed to be here Friday, and it came a couple of days early. So love this. The link for this on Amazon, and then the link for it on TPT as well as in the shop, are in the text of this video, so above or below this here. So I did print out the other one, like the digital one today, and I haven't done the hole punch yet for the Happy Planner spiral things. So once I do that, I'll come back and just post a picture in the comments so that y'all can see it. The other thing that I've been working on with a team of about, I think it's 18 other special education teachers across different grade levels, different years of service in special education from within this Facebook group. We are working on the IEP Blueprint, and I recorded all of the rest of the trainings this morning, and it will be available tomorrow. I have to edit the trainings and still do all of the things, but I want to show you the pages that are included and how it aligns with the IEP toolkit that some of you may already have. So the toolkit is not included in the blueprint, but they work perfectly together. I'll come back and link the blueprint tomorrow. And just like Beth did, I see Beth here said I would love the link to the blueprint. I will come back and send you the link tomorrow for that. So what the IEP Blueprint is with the IEP toolkit, you get all of the things that you're going to need for when it comes to writing the IEP, right? And leading up to the IEP meeting and your agendas and everything that you're going to need for that. But outside of that, like, there's no real trainings that I provide within the IEP toolkit to show you or tell you why to do certain things, how to do certain things, what best practices are. And so that's really what the IEP Blueprint is, and what the team of teachers, special education teachers in this group have helped me with, is really nail it down to what do you need for your specific classroom. So the 18 different teachers that have been helping, they are teaching transition age, they are teaching elementary, they are teaching pre-K. We are in public schools, charter schools, like, we are just spanned across everything. I wanted to make sure that the feedback that I got from them was truly useful for anyone, and that's what the IEP Blueprint is. So this is just the index from the IEP Blueprint, and this is going to be a digital download just like the IEP Toolkit. And so this is just the index, and on the digital PDF, you'll be able to click these and you'll go to that direct page, but it's not something that you can print out, and this is why. So let's just say we have the first thing on this list actually is the IEP ToDo List training video. And so the very next page, and this is what all the training video pages look like, there are 13 different training videos that are included with the blueprint. And so this is what one of the pages looks like. And I printed this one because it's one of the finished pages, because this is a training that I did prior and I could reuse. So on each training page, you're going to see, but actually, let me back up, because I told you that I updated the IEP Writing Timeline. Excuse me. So I updated the IEP Writing Timeline for the IEP Blueprint, and the free download of this, I'm going to update it as well once I get the IEP Blueprint up and running. So if you want a free download of this IEP Writing Timeline, you certainly can do that as well, but it is going to be included in the Blueprint. And so this gives you when to do what, and you did see it in the IEP Lesson Planner. And so what it's going to happen is you are going to have this first, and then there's going to be a training page. And so on the training page, you're going to be able to click this big box here with my face in it and a thing. You're going to be able to click that, and it's going to take you to a link of a training video that is included inside of the blueprint to teach you about whatever the title is here at the top. So 1 to 3 days pre-IEP meeting versus what a staffing is. So we do go over that inside of the blueprint. If you want a little synopsis of what this training is about before clicking on it, you can read here. Each of these trainings is 6 minutes or less. I aimed for 5 minutes, but some of them are like 5.5. So I'm going to say 6 minutes or less. So you have 13 different trainings, 6 minutes or less. And then what's even better is if you do have the IEP toolkit or you see something in here that I'm showing you, because in the videos, I will explain what this means, what you should do, why it's best practice. But then I'm also going to show you resources from within the toolkit, because the blueprint and the toolkit really do work together. There'll be links here that'll say, okay, this page and this page are included in the toolkit. And then here's just some other things that you don't necessarily need to implement this thing, but there are some things here that maybe you might be interested in, or maybe there's some free resources that I can link for you. So you'll have a bunch of links here as well that you'll be able to click and go to. And then inside of the Intentional IEP membership, we have over 100 different trainings on IEP things. Not only that, including we have a data collection course, and the full Intentional IEP writing course is now included inside of membership. Doesn't include the downloads, but you do get the training videos. So what I did was any video, I picked 3 for each of the trainings in the blueprint. These are membership only, but if you are a member, you can click and say, okay, well, I want to learn more about this specific topic. Here's something that directly relates to it. And you'll be able to click here and log into your membership and watch those videos. So this is what each training video looks like. Now, there are some pages within the IEP Blueprint, like the IEP to-do lists, that you have not seen before, and they are brand new, and I'm super excited about them. So with IEPs, and these are all of the to-do lists that are included in the blueprint, there's so many, I'm going to show them to you. There's always things that we have to do. And sometimes these things are just the beginning of the school year. Sometimes these are monthly to-dos. Sometimes they're daily to-dos. And sometimes, they're end of the year things that we have to do. So what I did was I broke that down into one sheet, but also broke it down into each separate sections for different checklists. And I'll explain what I mean. So this one is done for you, or is a great starting place for you. So if you're a brand new teacher and you're like, okay, I got my IEPs, no idea what to do now. It is listed here. These are some things that you should start with. So you need to read each student's IEP. You're going to create a snapshot or an IEP at a glance. Make sure every team member has an updated copy. Meet with your general education teachers, and so on and so forth. And then it says each marking period, each month, each week at the end of the school year. This is a great place to do a brain dump at the beginning of the school year so that you can say, okay, now that I've done a brain dump, because brain dumps are if you've never done a brain dump, it is when you take all the things in your brain and you just write them on a piece of paper. They are not organized in any fashion. Then you take what you have written and you organize it. And so you would organize it on your own page here or add it to the one that I just showed you. From here, then, you're going to dive deeper into your beginning of the school year to-dos. So before the first day of school, first week of school, first month of school. If that's not enough space, I have included, let me move these over here. So each section gets its own half page. So before the first day, first week, first month, or just a blank sheet if you just want to brain dump everything onto there for the beginning of the school year. So from there, you're going to do IEP to-dos for a certain marking period, a quarter, or a semester. You put the marking period, quarter, semester here, the month that you're going to do it, and you're going to brain dump everything there. I've laid it out in different options this way, so quarterly to-dos. I've also laid it out with a notes section at the bottom so you don't forget. You have seen this before for the IEP tracking calendar, but I turned it into a to-do list for different months. So maybe this is your IEP to-do list for this school year, and you have to do all of these things in this month. So maybe Stephanie has her re-eval coming up in April. So maybe in January, we're going to send out that consent, or maybe we're going to send out the starting paperwork in January. So now you don't forget when you do your monthly checklist in January. And there's 2 versions, one that starts in January, one that starts in August. When you start your monthly to-do list for January, then okay, so this week I need to send home this for Stephanie's re-eval that's coming up in April. So it's so you don't forget about all of these different things that we have to do for IEP writing and paperwork. It's truly meant to help you with all of the things that we have to do with IEP writing, teaching you the IEP writing timeline, but really helping you with all of those quick less than 6-minute trainings, but then giving you the resources in the toolkit if you want them to help you just make it so much easier and quicker so you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you go to write an IEP. So this is for the to-do list for the month. And then you have just a general IEP to-do. So if you had weekly to-dos or a daily to-do, you have that there. And then an end of the school year to-do list, because as the end of the school year was coming up, and you may have seen me ask it here in the Facebook group, was do any of you do like an end of the year audit? And I use the word audit loosely because in special education, when we hear the word audit, it's like, oh, an audit. Oh my goodness. I don't mean like the official audit where they come in and like fine check everything with like a red pen. I just mean like, do you audit your own folders that you have for your students to make sure everything's in line? And some of you do and some of you don't. I've done both in school districts that I've worked for. Some schools wanted us to do that at the end of the year. After the student's last day on one of our professional development days, all the special education teachers in the building would come into the office, and then we would have all of our IEP folders, and they would give us a checklist, and we'd have to go through and make sure everything was in the folder. And then the ARD facilitator, this was in Texas, would check to make sure that everything was done. So in some schools, they don't do this. I do recommend doing it. Maybe if you don't do it or don't have to do it, but just for yourself so that you know, like if you're passing something on, that if you're passing a student paperwork on to the next grade or the next school, or they're moving, you know that everything's already in that folder and you don't have to check it again at the beginning of the school year. So that's where these end of the year to-do lists came from. So maybe the last month of school, last week, last day, and then after the kids leave. Again, if that's not enough, I've broken it into half sheets and then also the full, just if you want to brain dump everything onto that. I'm in love with these checklists. I'm very much a checklist person when it comes to keeping things straight. So I was really excited to make these. And our review team and the review team for the IEP Blueprint was like, they really helped. I started with this and they were like, we need more. Like we need more checklists. It can't just be one. So you can thank them that we have all of these here. You're also going to see this, again, you saw it in the lesson planner. You've seen it in the IEP binder. It really just makes its way into everywhere because it's a great checklist to have for before, during, and after the meeting. It also is a freebie. I'll come back and link it if you just want to download this as well. It doesn't have all those pretty colors on it, but it is an option for you. Then also in the IEP Blueprint was another labor of love, but I'm so proud of it. One of the things that the review team was like, I would love a review of like what goes into an IEP template. Like there's so many different templates for IEPs. It depends on the state you work in. Sometimes it's the school, sometimes it's the district. A lot of the times it's dependent upon what specific IEP writing system you're using, right? So what I did was, one, I'm going to go through and you'll have just a link you'll be able to click Alabama and it'll send you on to an example of an Alabama state IEP. And so it may not be, there is a little disclaimer here. So again, depending on the school you work in, the state, whatever it may be, your IEP template might look different. But if you have a student transferring in from Mississippi and maybe you are living in Kansas, you can click Mississippi and be like, okay, like here's what this is. So this is just a starting place for you if you're curious what other IEP templates look like in different states. Then we get into the different sections of an IEP and the IEP Template Explained. So what it does is it's 12 different sections of the IEP. You can see them here. So student information, present levels, IEP goals, short-term objectives, related services, supplementary aids, supports for personnel, reporting frequency, participation in testing, extracurriculars, transition, and extended school year. Those sections of the IEP explained. So what goes in this section is the first box here, the first column, and then what data do you need for this section of the IEP? This was one of the things that was most asked for in the review group, again, from within this Facebook group. And so I'm really excited. This was brand new. This is not anywhere else, so it will only be in the IEP Blueprint. But what comes with this then, so for the example, the present levels, it says, see the IEP Writing Checklist. So right after those PDF pages is an IEP Writing Checklist. And you can use this per student. You can print it and say, okay, I'm just going to have this as a reference. You can laminate it, do whatever you want, but it says, okay, in the student cover page, make sure that you have all of these things. In the present levels, make sure you have all of these things, and it actually goes even longer. The present levels is the biggest section of this. In a transition plan, make sure you have these things. In general information for IEP goals, student supports and services, just make sure that you have all of these things. So between the template explained, the example template set for each state, and then the IEP rating checklist, along with these training videos, it truly is going to give you that real IEP blueprint, like a great starting place of truly the things we should have learned in college as special educators. I'm so pumped about it. But then, and I have one last thing to show you, and then if you would like me to send you the IEP Blueprint link tomorrow, I can send that to you. Just leave a comment, love the Blueprint link, or just say Blueprint, and I'll send it to you. One of the things that I'm most excited about within this, and I did laminate it. Where did it go? I did laminate it. I laminated it front back. It's laying around here somewhere. I'll show you. So it goes through the IEP Writing Timeline, and we added after the IEP meeting to the IEP Writing Timeline per the review team's request. And why this was done was because, well, once you have the IEP meeting, like, you're not done, right? You're not done writing your IEPs. You're not done. It just really restarts the whole IEP process cycle over, because now we're implementing the IEP that you wrote. And so what do you do? And one thing that I wanted to share with everyone, and again, these are brand new posters that I have not ever created before and that are only available within the IEP Blueprint, is the IEP Referral Timeline. And so there are no specific dates to this because each state is different, each district is different. There are some things within the IDEA that it outlines, but the IDEA doesn't really give us too many timelines when it comes to a lot of things. It's left up to the states. So I just left it very general, the different steps. So you have recognition, pre-referral, it goes all the way down. So then if a student is found eligible for an IEP, and I did laminate this, and I don't know where it is, but I laminated it front back, so that way if they are referred to special education and they are found eligible, once they're found eligible, they go through the IEP writing process, right? So then you have your eligibility, which picks up where that left off with IEP development. The IEP process timeline, and this is what you go through each time you write a student's IEP, right? So you have IEP development, then you have implementation, progress reporting, you have your annual IEP, and then every 3 years you have a re-eval. But it is like a never-ending circle of IEPs, and that is truly what being a special education teacher is. Like, this is our job. Why did I create these two here? One, because the IEP referral timeline was requested by the review team, but also because these are great to share with parents. Parents are often, when they refer their child, or if they sign the referral paperwork and they're, evaluating and they're ready for it, that whole process sometimes is really drawn out, and they're not aware of, like, how many days is this going to take, or like, what comes next? Like, okay, well, I signed the paperwork and you said they're going to be evaluated, but like, what comes in between this? Like, what comes next? Or, okay, this is our first IEP and they were found eligible and we wrote the IEP, but like, I know I'm coming back in a year because you said that, but what happens within that year? Like, I don't know. Can you explain it to me? And so these are great resources to share with parents, or even just have available at the IEP meeting, or share at the IEP table, or just have somewhere that you can reference it with parents, because it's a great dialogue to have with them, and it's a great just visual for them to see all of the things. So these are the two new resources that I have been working on in the month of June. The IEP Planner, which is linked in the comments, so you can grab it on Amazon, or you can grab it in the shop or on TPT. And then the IEP Blueprint, which I am finishing up today after this training, this live video here. I actually have to record a training here in an hour. And then it'll be available tomorrow. So if you would like to see the IEP Blueprint, I will have it ready tomorrow. I will come back and link it. And if you leave a comment, I will come back and send a direct message to you tomorrow specifically with your link to the IEP Blueprint. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited about this. I've been seeing your feedback in here. Christy, the IEP Toolkit, if you just go to ieptoolkit.com, it will take you to the IEP Toolkit. But if you also want the link for the Blueprint, I would wait till tomorrow, because it'll be like a bundle. Like, you'll be able to add the toolkit with the Blueprint, and it'll be like a bundle deal. So I would wait to grab the toolkit till tomorrow if you plan on grabbing the Blueprint. But if you just want the toolkit itself without the Blueprint, ieptoolkit.com will get you that. The PD log and the lesson planner is amazing. I know it's the little things in lesson planners that often get left out. The third-party billing, like, that's never in a lesson planner. So really, really excited about this. Cannot wait for y'all to see it. Again, the lesson planner is ready for you. I have been keeping this secret for so long, and it's been really, really hard. And the Blueprint will be ready tomorrow. I just couldn't share the lesson planner without sharing the Blueprint. So yes, Carla, if you go back and watch the replay here in the group, I went over the lesson planner and I shared it here This is the one from Amazon that they sent. Actually, I ordered it, I had to pay for it. They didn't send it to me for free, but I did go over each page and share with you how to use it and all of that good stuff. So yes. Nicolette, the toolkit is not the toolkit on TPT updated. So the IEP meeting toolkit on TPT is updated. That is included in the IEP toolkit. So the IEP meeting toolkit is different than the IEP toolkit at the intentional IEP. The IEP meeting toolkit on TPT is included in the IEP toolkit itself. And you actually get a bunch of resources in the toolkit that it's a no-brainer. But if you have more questions, I'm happy to answer them. Leave them here in the comments. I will definitely be back to answer them for you. And I will come back tomorrow with the link for the blueprint. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for being here with me live. I have missed doing these lives with y'all. Don't forget that on July 11th, we have our special education lesson planner review. And I'm going to share with you, there's 10 that I've purchased, and that you guys have told me that you want to see in this year's review. It's more than I've ever purchased, so I'm so excited. Don't forget to come back because I also give all of them away because I do not need 10 lesson planners. So make sure you're here for that July 11th. If you're in the group right now, you can go to the events tab and not subscribe, but click going, and that'll give you a reminder before the event happens. Again, that's July 11th, and I want to say it's at 10 or 11 Central Time. But again, events tab in the Facebook group, and then the event will be there for you. So I will see y'all soon. Thank you so much for being here, and happy Thursday. Have a good weekend.